Hi guys, this is Hirosaki. This story is all about what if Naruto was born a low-class devil before the Great Devil War. Realizing how the devil class system subjugated devils of lower class, Naruto will represent his origins as he rises and expose the corrupted system that he lives in, and he'll do it without the high-class devils even realizing it. Before we start, kindly like and subscribe to this channel, and look over the description box for the author of this amazing storyline. Welcome aboard. Chapter 12, King and Queen. The next day. Naruto's peerage house. You go in there, 'cause I'm not. I like my life. Aren't you always talking about how strong you are, Naya? Go prove it now. Get the rookie to do it. I'm not going in there for nothing. Yash. I would do it. But I just remember that I have to extra push UPS today. Oh no you don't. Kisame, Kuroka, and Lee were outside their King's door, debating on who was going to wake him up for the day. Everyone in the house was shocked about what happened yesterday evening at the end of Naruto and Hao's battle. The brutality that Naruto used to punish Hao was very unnerving, and they were wary of their king now. Even Kuroka, who has spent the most time with Naruto, didn't recognize the man they saw yesterday. It scared her that Naruto was debating about killing Hao before he was convinced not to. Kisame grabbed Lee's collar and pulled him back towards them. Listen, you need to pay your dues and go in there now. I'm not going in there because I'll say something stupid like damn Naruto, got all those needles in your arm you a crack fiend now. And then he'll shoot me up with that red magic destruction shit. The shark man cried out. Well, why can't Kuroka-sama do it? She's known Naruto-sama the longest. Lee said in his defense. Because, Lee dear, I don't want to do it. As your queen, I demand that you do it, Naya. Kuroka said with a playful pout. Lee was looking back and forth at Kuroka and Kisame, trying to find an escape route to his predicament. His eyes lit up in happiness when Orochimaru stepped out his room in his usual tunic. Orochimaru. Lee ran over to the snake man in a blitz of speed. Good morning to you. You look well. Good morning, Lee. Orochimaru said in his usual raspy voice. He raised an eyebrow at the young martial artist. Is there something you need from me? Yes. Shouted Lee. Can you wake up Naruto-sama for me? It would really mean a lot to me. Orochimaru looked over at Kuroka and Kisame, who were looking at Orochimaru with hopefulness. You are Naruto's advisor, Naya. Maybe you should wake him up, said Kuroka with an accusing finger pointed at Orochimaru. Sweat rolled down Orochimaru as he looked at the closed door to his master's room. I just remembered that I have to get to the school early today. It's Saturday, dumbass, said Kisame with a laugh. Now go do your job, Mr. College Advisor. Ha ha ha. I have student organization work I need to handle. Orochimaru said quickly while summoning a magic circle. Good day. The legendary Orochimaru, reduced to this, said Anna as she opened the door to her and Yo's room. She was dressed in her usual blue short dress with her 1080 beads around her neck and red bandana over her hair. I'll do it. I need to talk to Naruto-sama anyway. Everyone cleared the way for Anna to approach and knock on the door quietly. Naruto-sama, I'm coming in. When she didn't receive an answer, she opened the door without any hesitation and entered his room, closing the door behind her. Everyone in the hallway looked at the closed door in disbelief. Anna really went inside. Damn, said Kisame while rubbing his chin. That girl has balls. He. Has balls. Ha. I'm hilarious. It was quiet in Naruto's room, with the occasional sound coming from one of the many machines in the room supporting Naruto's health. Naruto was sleeping on his back with his breathing machine on. He looked peaceful to Anna, so she watched him for a while, taking the time to really study him for the first time. He looked healthier, no doubt, but she could still see his bones protruding from his skin, even if it wasn't as bad as it was when they first freed him from his seal. Anna snapped back into focus and grabbed one of the chairs in the room and sat down on the right side of the bed. She reached out and shook Naruto's sleeping form a few times to get him to wake up. "Naruto-sama," she whispered quietly. Naruto's eyelids tightened somewhat until they slightly opened, revealing his blue orbs to the world. He took a deep breath and turned his head to Anna, looking her in the eyes. Anna suppressed a shudder but kept her stoic persona up. "Anna, I wasn't expecting you," he said quietly. "Good morning." "Good morning, Naruto-sama," she said with a bow. "Was your sleep nice?" "No, they never are, but I'm used to it," he said with a smile. "Is there something I can help you with?" "I'll be honest with you, Naruto-sama, what you did yesterday surprised me," said Anna while folding her arms together over her chest. I wasn't expecting you to do something so drastic to Hao." Naruto laughed a little and looked towards his window. "You hate me now, right? I don't blame you, but I believe that what I did was justified. I won't have such actions go unpunished." "No, I don't hate you because I agree with you." Naruto raised an eyebrow at her words and turned back towards Anna as she continued. "How needed his pride to be destroyed. I know of his past outlook on life and needed that beat out of him. Hao never lost a fight before, so I'm glad you were the one to beat some sense into him," she said coolly. Well then," Naruto said with a cough, "I'm glad you're on my side on this. I would have thought you were going to be mad at since you have a strong connection with Hao and Yo." "You're right about that, but Hao was starting to become annoying, and it was a problem. Yo was worried about his brother, and I was close to handling him myself, but you did it for me. Also, the way you beat Hao was truly outstanding, so I thank you for that, and I'm in awe at your skills, even while bedridden," she finished. "Thank you, Anna. That really means a lot to hear you compliment me like that," said Naruto with a closed-eye smile. Anna's nonchalant face didn't change at all. "However, what you after the fight is what confused me." Naruto's smile slightly wavered as he cracked his eyes open. "You were thinking about killing Hao." "I'm not going to act innocent and say that the thought hasn't crossed my mind of ending him, but I wouldn't kill Hao just because he got on my nerves. The only situation where I would attempt to kill him is if he was a threat to Yo. Now, Hao was trying to kill you, so the logical thing for a devil to is get them back, but nobody really thought that you were capable of killing one of your peerage members." "Really now?" said Naruto with a head tilt. "So you would kill Hao if he became a threat to Yo's safety, but you're surprised that I would debate upon killing someone that tried to kill me? I don't understand." "I know, but let me explain myself," she said while sliding her sandals off and kicking her feet up on Naruto's bed. "You are our king. You are the one who asked us if we wanted to be a part of your peerage. You accepted our strengths, along with our weaknesses. While you helped Hao for a long time with his outlook on life of all beings, you knew that he still held contempt for certain things. He tried to kill you, yes, but I didn't think that you would think about killing him as well. To be honest with you, I'd feel more comfortable around you if your first decision would have been what you decided to punish Hao with, disabling him. It makes him feel weak, which will humble him, but killing him is just like running away from your problems. For you to go through so much, you actually believe that killing him would be the correct justice for him and this peerage?" she explained. "That is what you believe, but it's because of my past experiences is what made me debate on killing Hao or not," he said with a small smile. "Why is that?" asked Anna in interest. "A lot of people have betrayed me, Anna. I've seen a lot of my time, and was faced in harsh predicaments many times. If I would have acted sooner, then it is a strong possibility that I would have never been sealed inside that disgusting box. Basically, I'm not going to take chances on the people I put my trust in. While you all didn't see, it hurt me a lot that Hao tried to kill me. So much, I almost gave up on him. I'm just using what I've learned in life and base my decisions from that," he said with a shrug, like it was nothing. "I have different morals than most people. It isn't something I control, it was something forced upon me." "Understandable, but you do know that everyone fears you now?" she said, questionable. "My family shouldn't be afraid of me unless they are plotting against me." Naruto said with all seriousness in his voice. Are they planning on doing something against me? I noticed that my protege wasn't here to wake me up. Is she planning something funny? No. Anna said sternly. Why would you assume something like that? How could you assume something like that? That is your queen and you believe that she'll betray you? We are here for you, and we're just worried for you. What we saw yesterday was an entirely different man. It's because you all aren't the first group of people I've called family. He said with a certain amount of edge in his voice. You know my story, Anna. This isn't my first go-around where I had to trust a group of people with everything. It wouldn't surprise me now if you tried to attack sometime during this talk. And no. I wouldn't do that, said Anna, surprised with revelation. That didn't stop my mother from killing herself though, he said with a frown. He gripped the sheets of his bed while staring at his ceiling fan. It didn't stop her from leaving me alone. Anna didn't say anything for a while. She was digesting this new outlook she had for her master. Naruto's mind was a fragile thing, and he had to use that fragile mind to get by inside an empty space for years. Of course, he was going to have distrust for people. To be prepared for his own peerage members to betray him was an amazing and scary sense of security to Anna. The word family. Naruto whispered. I hold it to such high regard. Before I considered you all my family, I considered myself to be in two families. Both went down to hell. He said with a growl. I just don't want the same to happen now. So when I see someone trying to damage or hurt my family, I'll do what's necessary to keep them safe, even if I have to kill one of my family members. We're really that important to you? Asked Anna, generally interested in Naruto's outlook. I need you all. He said with all the confidence. I need you all so much that I can't put it into words. You all are my family and you all are the only people in this world, the underworld, heaven or anywhere else that I consider to be more important than me. I'd stop all the plans I have right now if you all don't want me to do so. I'm not going to force myself on you all, that's why I asked for everyone's approval before adding you all to my peerage. My peerage is my god, and I'll honor it with every breath in my body. Anna's shocked face didn't stop Naruto's rant. If Hao were to kill me, I don't know what would happen to you all, which is why I was debating on killing him. I've stuck with Hao for 8 years, trying to change his outlook on life, and I was somewhat successful, but I didn't change it fully. He tried to kill me because I wasn't what he expected me to be at first glance. How trying to kill me is the equivalent of an angel or a fallen angel trying to kill you, Anna. The only reason why Hao is still alive right now is because Kuroka convinced me that he is a part of my family, so he was an enemy I had emotional ties with. He got the special treatment, if that's what you want to call it, but if he tries to do what he did again, that'll be it for him. I know that you all need me, just like I need you all, so if someone threatens us, they won't live to tell the tale. That is final. Anna stared at Naruto, studying his calm face as he pulled the sheets more so only his head was sticking out. What I'm getting from this? You love us, that is obviously true. But don't trust us fully. Like your heart has a defense mechanism for protecting itself from breaking when someone you truly love betrays your trust. That is an amazing and scary trait to have. Naruto shrugged his shoulder. That's just how the world made me, Anna. The heart is the weakest part of the body and mine has been abused many times. It's sink or swim out here, and I was floating in the ocean with a paddle boat filled with holes. I gotta do what I have to in order to live with any means necessary. You are surprising knowledgeable for a person that laughs all the time and was locked up for centuries. She said with unease, not sure how he was going to take it. Naruto just laughed and waved Anna off. I spent centuries learning how people worked, Anna. I had to learn the things nobody would teach me myself in order for me to do the things I plan on doing. Remember, you don't need to be the strongest to be the strongest. Anna's sweat dropped. What does that even mean? Plus, you gotta laugh through things to keep it pushing. Naruto said with a smile, ignoring Anna's last question. I do have something to ask you, Anna. Which is? How is Yo doing? He asked. Yo? She with a raised eyebrow. He's okay. He's split between what you did. While he's happy that you kept Hao alive, he wasn't really fond of the idea of you were debating on killing him, or how you punished him. He doesn't know how to approach you right now. She answered honestly. Naruto eyes trailed to the ceiling. He thought about his next words. Yo. I'm sorry that you are scared of me, and I'm sorry that you feel like what I did was wrong, but I want you to understand that I care about both you and how. I just have a weird way of showing it, he. So, I hope that you listen to my side of the story well and understand where I'm coming from. Your peerage members are noisy people, said Anna with a shake of her head. We know you all are listening through the door, Naruto said out loud. A lot of noise was made outside Naruto's bedroom door, and both could clearly hear Lee shoot his usual yash. Run. And Kuroka's Naya, and the sound of feet repeatedly hitting ground was heard until it slowly decreased. He. Ha. Naruto laughed, generally finding the whole situation funny. Anna shook her head, but cracked a smile. When he finished his banter of laughter, he turned his attention back towards his second, Bishop. When you get down there with them, tell them to leave me alone for the day. I need to think about some things, he said with a kind smile to Anna, and thanks for this as well. While this won't truly mend things together with the others, maybe they'll understand why I did it. Yes sir, and I'm sure you'll understand us more sometime soon, she said with a nod as she stood from her seat and made her way out of his room, closing the door behind her. She made her way downstairs and into the living room to meet up with the others. Once they saw Anna in the room, everyone acted like their full attention was on the television. Oh, look at us over here just watching some good old TV, not doing anything of suspension. Ha. Kisame laughed out awkwardly, Samahata shrieking with its master. Yes, Ms. Anna. We were down here just watching the television that you all enjoy so much. Lee lied with a goofy smile. Nobody was outside of Naruto-sama's door, listening into your conversation about what he did to Mr. Hao yesterday. Nope. Everyone in the room sweat dropped at Lee's lying skills, or the lack of it. Anna shook her head while making her towards Yo, who was sitting at their usual couch. You all are impossible. It doesn't even matter now. It better this way if you think about it, because now, he doesn't need to explain himself again. I know, Yo said with a sigh, burying his face into his hands. But how? Hao was seated in Kisame's recliner, taking in deep breaths air. His skin was clinging to his bones, and the veins in his neck were clearly visible. He had on his usual black pants, but ditched his cloak for a white undershirt. Yo was the one that dressed Hao and teleported him downstairs into the living room since Hao couldn't move for himself. He didn't want his brother trapped inside of room all day, rotting away. Listen, Hao knows what he did wrong, Yo, said Anna, putting a comforting hand on his back. Yo didn't move for a while, choosing to think about the next words he was going to say. After debating upon it, Yo lifted his head up and turned meet the eyes of his fiancée. You said that you would kill Hao for me. Anna's stoic face didn't shift at all at his words. I did say that because it's true. I've told Hao that as well, so he knows. Do you honestly believe that my brother is a threat to us? He asked. While everyone didn't want to pry into their personal matters, they were talking about a very sensitive subject in front of everyone, so Kisame, Orochimaru, Kuroka, and Lee were listening to the couple have their discussion. I do. Or at least, I did think he was a threat before Naruto-sama punished him with that. She said, point towards the older Asakura brother. I agree with what Naruto-sama did. I just didn't like the process of him doing it. But this is cruel. Yo jumped out of seat and started pacing back and forth. How? He knows that he did wrong the moment Naruto-sama stood over him at the end of the fight. I know that Hao did a stupid thing, but I just think that this is too much. So if Hao got away with killing Naruto-sama, you'd be okay with it just because he's your brother? Asked Anna with little bit of anger in her voice. Their conversation was slowly turning into an argument, and everyone could tell by the growing frown on Anna's face. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that this dash he pointed to his sickly-looking brother isn't the way it should go. Maybe make him clean the house or something. I don't know. I just don't want my brother to suffer like this, nor any of us. You do realize that the moment we piss him off, he could put us in a similar state that Hao is in for who knows how long. Doesn't that scare you? Even a little bit? The only reason why I should be scared of Naruto-sama's power is if he was going to use it against me. I don't plan on rebelling against him anytime soon, so why would he punish me like he did Hao? Ask Anna. You are forgetting that Naruto-sama is our king. This is his job, to manage his peerage. If you don't want him to be a king, you shouldn't have joined this peerage. Anna, you have to be joking. Yo yelled he's our king, but he is prepared at all times to kill us. Doesn't that put fear you heart? After what happened yesterday, I'm fucking terrified of him. Don't you all feel the same? Kuroka's ears dipped as she looked out the window. That was a totally different Naruto that she was used to. Naruto was usually happy, joking around, and talking about Pickles. However, the Naruto she saw when he stood over Hao's body like his existence was meaningless. She didn't recognize him at all, and the way that he had spoken to her. Don't tell me what to do, Kuroka. Kuroka shook her head, trying to rid herself of the memory, but it kept coming back to her. His cold blue eyes broke her heart and froze it over. She felt weak when she saw those eyes, all of her conviction of saving Hao for a few seconds, but thankfully she pressed on. Her words could have been the deciding factor on if Hao would be live or not. I don't want to see that side of him again, she thought to herself. She regained her focus when Yo stopped in front of her. Kuroka, he said quietly, weren't you scared? You've known Naruto for a long time, so you know how he acts. You feared him and you still do, right? Yes, she said without hesitation. Her body shook as she remembered the ki that he was releasing at that time. It felt like she was standing in front of Lucifer himself. I'm scared of him now, but I still support Naruto. Why? Asked you why support a man that could do to you what he did to Hao? Because he was there for me. She whispered, clutching the sides of her loose kimono. He saved me. He kept me company, fed me, sheltered me. Even while he was losing his mind in a jail of emptiness, he was still there. A wave of energy filled Kuroka's body, as she stood up on her bare feet. He's done so much for us, and we're here talking about how much we fear him. No. That doesn't make any sense. Naruto needs help just like how we needed help, so even though I fear him, I'll still be there for him. She turned her attention to Hao, who was watching her with weak eyes. I'm sorry for what happened to you, Hao, but you tried to kill my king. If Naruto was any other devil, Hao would have been labeled a stray devil and hunted down. I've experienced that myself and it's hell. Sleeping in alleys with one eye open, running from city to city. Country to country. You don't want that from your brother, do you? And no, I don't, bu dash. Then you should be grateful that your brother hasn't been destroyed to a molecular level. If it were my decision, I would have killed Hao and been done with it, Naya. She said with a hiss at the end, glaring at the younger Asakura. I know that. But still. Yo gritted his teeth and clenched his fist as he thought back to the fight Naruto had with Hao. He was playing with Hao. He wasn't even taking it seriously. Do you honestly think you can protect yourself from that? He. You all are so cute. Yo, Kuroka, and everyone else in the room eyes moved towards the stairs where they heard the voice. An orange orb was floating steadily in the air, watching them all. And Naruto. Kuroka whispered, the feeling of fear washing over her again. The orb floated towards them and stopped in the middle of the room. Everyone's breath hitched when the orb turned in Hao's direction. Hao watched the orb, but unlike everyone else, he looked at the orb with tiredness rather than fear. I've learned. Hao gasped out to the orb. The orb giggled, almost mocking Hao. I'll think about it. Naruto replied. The orb turned towards Yo this time, causing him to take a step back. You really don't understand what an illusion is, do you? I guess I made that thing a little too good. What are you talking about, Naruto-sama? Asked Orochimaru, speaking for the first time in a while. You all say that you're scared of my power that you saw in the illusion. You all are so focused on the fact that the fight was fake that you didn't stop to think that everything was fake. Naruto said to his pawn. What does that even mean? Asked Yo, wondering what their Bael master could be getting at. It means that the strength that I was using in that fight was also fake, Laughed the orb. Did you honestly think that I could handle a fight like this in my condition? Ha. My peerage members are so gullible. Oh wow, hell no. Kisame yelled suddenly, with Lee jumping at the sudden noise. You're telling me that the power you used in that illusion was fake? So you're not even that strong to begin with? The orb continued to laugh before answering. Yup. All fake. To be honest with you all, I don't even know how strong I am. I was in a seal for over 500 years after all, ha. Joke's on you, how? Because you could be stronger than me. Yo looked at his master's orb in shock, and then sighing and slumping into the couch that Kuroka was in. You've got to be kidding me. Nope, not kidding. There's a good chance that Hao is stronger than me. If I were to use my magic to sustain my body in a real fight against Hao, I would have lost in the first 30 seconds of the fight because of the amount of pressure on my body. It was another reason why I gave the illusion of a stronger me fighting Hao. It would help set my dominance among the group and show my awesomeness at the same time, It's so funny because Hao lost to a person who doesn't even know how strong he actually is, ha. Laughed Naruto. It was silent for a while because everyone was digesting the words Naruto gave them. He tricked them. Once again, Naruto outsmarted everyone, giving them a false sense of fear so that they wouldn't deter or rebel. The sound of chuckling from Orochimaru was the first noise to be made, which increased into pure laughter from the man. Ha. You, Naruto-sama, are a genius. Mohahaha. Laughed the man with his raspy voice. Naruto followed along with Orochimaru, laughing out loud as well. It's too many insane people in one room, said Kisame, grabbing Samehade and headed out of the room. I'm going out. Have fun laughing at each other's fucked up faces. I think I need some air as well, said Yo, opening the sliding door and entering the backyard. Anna bit the bottom of her lip, internally debating if she should follow her fiancé, but ultimately decided against it. He was going to need this time alone to think things through, and even though it was killing her inside that she didn't go with him, she knew he needed this. I'll end your punishment tonight, Hao, since I'm feeling merciful again. Just stick it through these next couple of hours. I need to handle some business now, were Naruto's final words before the orb disappeared. Kuroka frowned when she sensed Naruto's magic disappear from above them, meaning that he left the house for his own devices. She sighed and headed out of the living room, wanting to find something to do to keep her busy. Uptown Koho Apartments. Sona, wearing an oversized pink shirt and black shorts, was sitting in her bed while reading a book that she was enjoying thoroughly. The book was about the Citri clan, its history and water techniques that the clan was famous for using. She wanted to know everything about the Citri before taking upon the mantle of clan leader. She was the clan heiress, after all. The Citri clan, also famously known for valuing knowledge above power. Sona read mentally, the book being written in the author's perspective. Unlike the Bael clan, we hold our intellect higher than anything, even using it to judge young men and deem them worthy of the high-class maidens of the clan. Our lust of knowledge is our strongest power, able to retain it and memorize it to memory easier than any other devil clan. Citris were the main battle strategist. Thorough history for all of the wars devils participated in. We are one of the greatest clans of the underworld, holding the title of prince, but with the increase of power younger generations have, Sona was brought out of her reading when she heard light taps against her apartment door. She was confused because she wasn't expecting anyone today, but she just summed it up to be one of her peerage's members wanting to talk to her. She walked towards the door, but then a thought hit her, but wouldn't they call and tell me that they were coming over? Also, if we're someone else, wouldn't I be alarmed that someone was coming to my room? While she was suspicious, she opened the door anyway, not sensing any magical entity on the other side. However, she was highly surprised when she saw Naruto, in his wheelchair, smiling up at the young Citri. Ah. Sona Citri. I'm sorry to come here without alerting you, but I wanted to talk to you personally, he said with his charming smile. However, Sona wasn't buying the smile one bit. She internally shuddered when she thought back to his fight with Hao. He utterly destroyed him, and then made her feel even weaker when he told them that he had them under his spell since the beginning. The utter sense of powerlessness she had while near this man was frightening. But Sona wasn't brave enough to deny this man what he wanted, so she silently opened the door more and stepped aside, allowing him entrance into her home. Phew. My arms hurt a lot, said Naruto as he parked himself in Sona's living room. Sona was sitting adjacent to him on one of the couches in the room with her hands in her lap. Keep it together, Sona, she thought. You are a Citri, so you shouldn't be shocked up like this, even if this man scares you. She took in a deep breath of air before starting conversation with the Bael. Naruto-sama, why did you stop by my residence? Oh, you don't have to call me Sama. He said with a wave. My peerage members make everyone do that when someone is talking to me while in front of them. I don't really care for honorifics and such, so just address me with my first name. Okay, Naruto then, he smiled at Sona and she had to hold back a shiver. Is there anything you need from me? I just wanted to talk. My peerage is residing on your territory, so it's only right for me to introduce myself to you privately. As you know, my name is Naruto Bael, high-class devil and the king of my peerage. It's nice to finally talk to you. The same, she said while pushing up her glasses. I am Sona Stiri, heiress to the Citri clan, and a third-year student at Kuo Academy. I'm actually happy that we can have this conversation. There are many questions that I have to ask you, and I'll answer them with respect, he said back. But first, I must say, you really do look a lot like your sister. My sister? Do you know her? She asked with interest. Oh yes. Seraphal and I go way back. We fought together in the civil war amongst devils a long time ago. I was a part of a legion that she was commanding. We fought side by side with each for a long time. She's a good friend of mine. Really? Sona raised an eyebrow at the new information. She looked down in thought as she rubbed her chin. I've never heard her mention you at all. That is really surprising. She didn't notice the menacing smirk growing on Naruto's face. Same time Hyuga residence. Ding dong. Honey, yelled Mrs. Hyuga from the kitchen. She was washing dishes alongside Rias and Asia, while Issei and Mr. Hyuga were watching television in the living room. Can you open the door for me? Sure thing, dear, Mr. Hyuga answered as he got up from his seat on the couch and walked towards the door. He opened it to see a beautiful, black-haired girl in a loose-fitting kimono. He took a mental image of her breast that was almost spilling out of her attire. Hello, can I help you? Hiya, Naya. Issei's head snapped towards the door when he heard the voice of Naruto's queen outside the door. Can I come in? I'm one of Issei's friends, Naya. Sure. Sure, said the older man, holding the door open for Kuroka. She smiled at him and entered the house, kicking her sandals off at the door. Issei stood up from his seat, his eyes meet the Nekish's. She smiled at High Sultry and purred Ise. Issei's mouth dropped open in shock as he robotically waved his hand at Kuroka, not knowing what to say at all. He did notice that her ears and tails were gone. Mrs. Hyuga, followed by Rias and Asia, who were dry their hands with a towel. Rias' eyes narrowed when she heard the tone Kuroka used with Issei. She even used her nickname for the boy. What are you doing here, Kuroka? She asked, a hand on her hip. I'm just here to talk, Naya. She said with a mischievous smile. What a nice home this is. I like, Naya. She said with a wink at Mr. Hayato. He laughed awkwardly while inching his way towards the bathroom. He needed to get rid of a problem that just sprung up when he saw Kuroka. About what? Ria said plainly. Kuroka rolled her eyes at the grimoire and focused on Mrs. Hayato. I'm sorry if I causing any trouble. It's just... Kuroka started to sniff a little as a tear started to form in her eyes. I've been so lonely ever since my boyfriend left me. ISE is the only friend I have and, I'm sorry, I should just leave, Naya. No, said Mrs. Hayato with concern. She walked over to Kuroka and hugged the shorter girl. You can stay here as long as you like. Issei can keep you company. Really? Stuttered Kuroka, wiping her eyes with her sleeve. Of course, dear, said Mrs. Hayato with a smile. She walked Kuroka to the couch with an arm around her shoulder. You just sit right here. I hope you are alright with preheated food. We already had dinner earlier, so the food is in the fridge. I'm sniff alright with that. Kuroka whispered quietly, holding back the laughter that was crawling up her throat. Alright, dear. You take it easy. Rias, may you please fix Ms. Kuroka a plate? Mrs. Hayato asked. And me? But I don't want to make her anything. Rias splurged out. Now Rias, that isn't nice, said Mrs. Hayato with a frown. Yeah, Rias, Mrs. Hayato was in front of Kuroka, so she didn't see the grin on Kuroka's face as she looked at the younger devil. That isn't nice at all, Naya. I've never done anything bad to you. Rias growled at the girl before stomping her way back into the kitchen childishly. Asia giggled at her, while following her into kitchen to help her. Minutes later, Kuroka was sitting on the couch with a small TV stand as a table for her hot plate of food. Ria's face was red with rage as she set the plate down and turned away with a huff. Enjoy, she said plainly. Kuroka looked down at the plate, her eyes sparkling at the spicy curry and baked fish in front of her. Her eyes gained a gleam as another idea entered her mind. She quickly gained a depressed look and started to cry again, which attracted Mrs. Hayato to check on her again. What's wrong, Ms. Kuroka? Well. She sniffed out. My ex-boyfriend would feed me, and he made curry all the time. I just take Iju. Another round of tears poured out of her golden eyes, making Mrs. Hayato's heart weaken at the sight. Don't worry, Ms. Kuroka. Issei here will feed you, she said with a smile. What? Issei, Rias, and Asia shouted for different reasons. Issei didn't want to feed Kuroka at all, while Asia and Rias yelled because they wanted to be the ones fed by Issei and not Kuroka. You heard what I said. Mrs. Hayato snapped, causing Issei to gulp in fear. You treat her right. You two do the same, okay? She said to Rias and Asia. Asia nodded her head submissively while Rias turned away and grumbled some curses under her breath. Now, Ms. Kuroka, I'll be in my room, but they'll keep you company. Call me if you need anything, okay? Said Mrs. Hayato softly. Oh, okay. Kuroka said with a fake stutter. When Mrs. Hayato was out of the room and far from earshot, Kuroka started to laugh loudly at the three devils, all who wished they could cover Kuroka's head with duct tape. Kuroka, what are you doing here? Asked Issei while feeding the Nekishu a piece of baked fish. Kuroka munched happily on her fish before answering, I just wanted to something fun, Naya. I'm glad I decided to come here. I get free food and servants, Naya Yaya. She laughed out loud. You should leave, Ria said with a growl as she watched Issei fed her in jealously. That should be me, damn it. Nope, she said with a smile as she swallowed some food. I'm too comfy right now, and this food is really good. Would you like some chocolate for dessert, little cat? Asked Rias with a scowl. No thanks, Kuroka said with a nonchalant wave at Rias, ignoring her joke/threat, I came to talk to Issei. Naruto would always talk about you when he found out about you, so I'm interested in him. I haven't gotten chance to talk with him one-on-one, Naya. Excuse me. Asia's voice squeaked out for the first time, is this another grab at ISE to join your king's peerage, because I don't agree at all. He's happy here. She said bravely, a bet with a few stutters here and there. No, Naruto said he's content with Issei staying with Mrs. HIV. So you don't have to worry about us steal him from you, Naya sang Kuroka. Rias was twitching in anger when she heard Kuroka use the nickname that Kisame gave them. Don't do anything stupid, Rias. You can do it. Just for a few hours, you can live with this until she leaves. So what is it that you want to talk about? Asked Issei, feeding Kuroka that last bit of food. Kuroka swallowed her food before looking back at Issei. Would you like to take a bath with me, Naya? Rias shot out of seat and her magic danced around her in a dangerously, you want to do what? She whispered quietly, her hair covering her eyes which added to her menacing look. So do you, Ise? She said as she inched closer to Issei, who was scooting away from her. He ran out of space on the couch and Kuroka caught up to him, her face hovering over his, I promise you that I won't bite. Help me, muttered Issei with a distraught look. Rias pulled Kuroka off of her pawn protectively. Kuroka landed on the ground but started laughing again. Naya. You all are so much fun to play with. She laughed, I'm not going to do anything naughty with Ise. I do consider myself a taken woman, remember? Oh yeah. Said Issei, you're in love with Naruto-sama, right? He asked and got confirmation from Kuroka with a nod. Wait, you love your king? Asked Rias. With everything I have. She answered with a genuine smile, which slightly surprised Rias, but she hid it behind a neutral face. I just want to talk to Issei, if you don't mind. I'd like to clear Naruto's name, because I know you fear him a little since you witnessed that battle yesterday, Naya. I guess that makes sense. Issei said while rubbing back of his head, he scared the shit out of me when I thought he was going to kill Hao. He scared me too. She muttered sadly, but I understand why he did it. It's just how his mind works. It was silent for a while, but Kuroka broke the tense atmosphere when she stood up and looked to Rias, you can come if you want, but I just wanted to talk with Ise. He knows what's going on more than you do, so you could sit in and listen, Naya. I don't want to answer a lot of questions though. Rias contemplated her answer before agreeing, alright, I'll listen in. May Asia come as well? It doesn't matter to me. Said Kuroka, now lead me to the bathroom, Naya. I need to clean up for the day. A few minutes later. Issei sat in between Rias and Asia in the ofuro, waiting for Kuroka to step in. Said Nekishu was currently nude right in front of him, pouring a hot bucket of water over her head. Her long, black hair was sticking to her wet form and her creamy white skin was gleaming from the light of the room. Her golden orbs really stood out when she was naked, contradicting any other color on her body, giving them even more power over Issei. But it was her big, perky breast that had his attention. While they weren't as big as Rias or Akino's, Kuroka's orbs of amazingness looked huge on her small stature of 5 feet 3 inches. They jiggled with every step Kuroka took when she walked towards them, and Issei took note that Kuroka walked a lot like how Rias or Sona did, with elegance and confidence. Her thick thighs were rubbing together provocatively and Issei could have sworn he saw a small patch of black fur over. A hand covered Issei's eyes, blocking Kuroka from sight. It was Rias who was blushing with anger when she caught Issei devouring Kuroka's body. She didn't want him doing that with anyone else other than her, damn it. The only body he'll become obsessed with is mine. No. Issei cried internally, sad that he couldn't see the rest of the beautiful lady in front of him. His depression grew when he heard Kuroka enter the water with a sigh, meaning that he wouldn't be able to expect her body again for a while. Ah. This feels nice, Naya. Kuroka moaned as the hot water heated her up. I feel like it's been a while since I've relaxed. Always working, Naya. So Kuroka, said Rias as she removed her hand over Issei's eyes, now that you are here, you have the floor. Of course, but first, I'd like to hear everyone's opinion on Naruto, Naya. Said the Nekishu, he's done a lot to you all, from manipulations, to playing with your emotions when you revived Asia. Rias slightly flinched at the memory. How do you all feel about Naruto? I don't feel anything bad against the guy, said Issei with a shrug. I mean, yeah, he's been in the shadows a lot, but since I know about what he went through, it's understandable to me. What did he go through? Asked Rias with a raised eyebrow. Issei never told me exactly what was going on with your master, Kuroka. I guess it doesn't matter now, Naya. Said Kuroka as she closed her eyes in thought, but I do want to hear your opinion on him first. May I go first, Bucho? Asked Asia. Getting a nod from her, King Asia spoke her thoughts. While I don't know him much, he seemed like a nice person. I could feel such a happy energy from him when he appeared yesterday. It actually made me smile at how he introduced himself to everyone there. He reminds me of the nice priest of the church in a way. The smile Asia had flipped into a frown as she started onto the negative aspects of Naruto, but what he did to how, I believe that was his name, is something that a man with a troubled past or hardened heart would do. Seems like he's easy to read. Said Kuroka with a sad smile. She turned to Rias, and you? I feel somewhat similar. Said Rias hesitantly, I do anger towards him as well. He did try to draw my pawn into his peerage, and while I do appreciate him training him, it was all a ploy to nab at my ISE. He's found entertainment in playing with certain situations and watching from afar. That factor has caused me to feel wary when I'm around him. I was surprised when I noticed that he was in a wheelchair, because Sona, and I summed up that your master wasn't injured. That was the excuse that Orochimaru told us when he asked for our blood. But seeing him in a wheelchair, I'm starting to think that there is something wrong with him. Plus, he didn't seem mentally intact, if that's the correct word to use. I noticed that he would giggle every now and then to himself for no reason. I want to know what happened to him. She finished. I get it, Naya. Kuroka said, Naruto is a playful man, so it sounds much like him to be meddling in your lives for his personal interest, but believe me that Naruto always does something for a reason. You are also right about the mental thing, Naya. Can you explain further? Asked Rias, generally interested in the whole mystery of Naruto Bael. Well, I'll make it quick and snappy because I've told this story way too many times. She said with a giggle, Naruto Bael was born a low-class devil before the times of the civil war between devils. He was one of the few low-class devils, and the Bael clan don't have the power of destruction. His parents raised him, hiding his powers from anyone else, while secretly training him while he grew. Soon enough, Naruto was old enough to join the war with his father, and he was enlisted into a legion that Serafal, or Serafal Citri at the time, was in command and quickly rose through the ranks with his abilities. He was the deciding factor to many battles. That's amazing. Muttered Rias, no offense, but you wouldn't even know that Naruto-sama had such accomplishments just by looking at him. Said the impressed Gremory. I see that you're adding Sama to his name, Naya. Purred Kuroka, causing Rias to blush in embarrassment. Kuroka laughed a little before continuing, Naya ya. It's all right. Naruto deserves all the respect in the world. He's done a lot for people, and was never congratulated for it. And why don't you call him Naruto-sama, Kuroka? Asked Issei. Because I know him. She answered easily. What does that mean? I sure a lot of people know him. Said a confused Asia. Just know that I've been with Naruto-sama for a while, Naya. Said Kuroka before donning her serious face. Anyway, Naruto was a war hero. Not on the level of the Four Satan, but he did have a major part of the victories Serafal's legions won. During this time, Naruto and Serafal. Kuroka growled out uncharacteristically, surprising Rias and Asia. the two were dating. You mean, they loved each other? Asked Rias, very much interested in this new information. She has met Seraphol plenty of times in the past, and she never said anything about Naruto. Maybe it was a bad breakup. Kuroka didn't say anything immediately after Rias' question. She was staring at her image in the water with an angry face. An image of a smirking Seraphol appeared and Kuroko's magic fluctuated around her, creating waves in the water. It continued to where the waves were tall enough to pass the walls of the onsen, and fell onto the floor. Kuroka! Shouted Issei, putting a calming hand on her shoulder. Kuroka caught her breath, before meditating her anger back inside of her. Her cat ears slouched a little as she took a deep breath. She bowed to the three devils. I'm sorry. I just get mad thinking about that little girl. You don't seem to like her at all. Said Asia, a little spooked at Kuroka's power display. I don't. I hate her. Growled out Kuroka. Rias raised both of her eyebrows. Is this jealousy that I'm sensing? Damn right. The cat said with a sigh, lowering further into the water, I don't like her at all. She took advantage of Naruto. He was a kind soul, and she didn't try to save him at all. Please explain to us, Kuroka. Said Rias with concern. The Nekisha sighed before continuing. Apparently, Lord and Lady Citri, along with some other high-up devils, didn't like the fact that such a low-class devil like Naruto was dating the heiress of the Citri clan. They believed him to be unworthy of her, which is highly untrue. It should have been the other way around if you ask me. But back on topic, Naya, they didn't like that Naruto was with Seraphol, and she was demanded to break up with him by the end of the war. She didn't do it, however, so she forced the Styri's hand by sealing Naruto in a box. Sealing him? Yelled Rias in shock. Why would they do that? That's torture. It is, but they didn't care. Kuroka clenched her fist under the water. He wasn't anything to them, and even after all he did to save his home. His mother. She killed herself when she found our Naruto's father died in the war, but he kept on fighting. He held on to his belief of protecting his home, and that's how they rewarded him. He was sealed up for more than 500 years in emptiness, and just recently did he get out. Asia's eyes were forming tears as she listened to Kuroka's story. Is that how low-class devils are treated? Issei sighed, running a hand through his hair. He didn't ever want to think like that, but it was true. Rias quickly interjected, No, Asia, not all low-class devils are treated evilly. I treat you well, right? I've never done anything wrong against you. You say not all, but forget about the others. Muttered Asia, looking at her reflection in the water. If they were able to do this with Naruto-sama, couldn't they do something similar to Issei? Or anyone else on your peerage if something doesn't go their way? Ria's mouth was slightly ajar, trying to find some type of loophole in her words to defend her race, but she couldn't find anything at all. All logic pointed that there were many flaws in the system of devils, a system that highly favored high-class devils more than anything. Is it really that bad? Because of my lavish life, am I blinded to all the things happening now? It seems clear as day to Asia, and she's hardly been a devil for a month. It's just how the world works. Muttered Kuroka. That's something that Naruto would say a lot. It's one of his teachings that I've taken to heart because of how true it is. Damn it. Rias said out loud, catching the attention of everyone else. I'm so ignorant. I've eaten at the same table with Seraphol-sama. Along with Lord and Lady Bael. You're telling me that they were hiding something like this all along? Your parents are too. Ria's head shot up towards Kuroka. What do you mean? I demand that you talk now. Ignoring Ria's tone of words, Kuroka continued, There's a reason why we needed your blood. In order to free Naruto from his prison, we needed the blood of clans that was responsible for Naruto's sealing. Bael. Citri. Gremory. Kuroka lifted 3 fingers up. They were all involved. If such a ceiling like this happened, then your parents must have known about it. What their alternative motives are, I don't know, but they were definitely involved. Ria's body shook as she dropped back into the water with a splash. She didn't care though. She was overwhelmed with the new revelation of her parents' secret dealings. They helped with this. She shouted mentally, an image of her innocent, smiling parents appearing in her mind. All this time, they've been hiding things like this. It doesn't make sense. What would they benefit from the sealing of a man that isn't even involved with him? It must be hard, Naya, said Kuroka, pulling Rias from her thoughts, to see your parents in a different light. Everyone sees them as a happy couple without any struggles or flaws. However, almost every clan has their dark dealings. I'm not that old, so I don't know much, but Naruto has always warned me to be a step ahead of the game when dealing with devils. It was how he found a way to release himself while stuck in a seal. How did he do it? Asked Asia. When the sealing was happening, Naruto killed 3 of the 10 devils over the sealing, weakening it. Over time, he found a weak point in the seal and uses that as a form of keeping up with the world. His orbs, I'm sure you've been victim to his surprise attacks with them, is what he used to gain strength, watch the world, gain peerage members, and then, finally, freeing himself. But all those years of solitude clearly had an effect on his mind, correct? Asked Rias, coming to terms with the situation at hand. Sadly, I always wondered why he would laugh and talk the way he did. He would mumble to himself, and I would think that he was crazy and say it was nothing. All of those years, and I didn't even know that it was a cry for help. The cat, Queen said. And why is he in a wheelchair? Asked Rias. Naruto weakening the seal came with a serious drawback. It wasn't preserving him properly. While it did sustain him for a while, the seal was weakened, so it couldn't properly hold the task of keeping Naruto safe from time. For centuries, Naruto's body started to degrade from the lack of nutrients, and all that time, he didn't say anything about it. He just kept laughing and joking like nothing was wrong. Once we released him from his seal, he was almost dead from malnutrition. His recovery is going great, but his body is still weak. Explained Kuroka. So what does he plan to do now? Asked Issei. He's free now, and I remember Orochimaru saying that they were building up their popularity in the underworld using rating games for Naruto-sama's cause. Do you know what's next now that he's free? I don't specifically, but I know that he'll reveal himself to those that crossed him soon. She admitted he has a plan for everything, with a backup plan to boot. Whatever it is, it'll be big. How did you meet Naruto-sama? Asked Asia. Kuroka smiled and looked up at the ceiling in thought. He saved me from some hunters looking for me. This was back when I was a SS class stray devil, so I was always on the run. He saved me and took me in. I've been training with him ever since. I was so young back then. She thought out loud. And he asked you to be his queen then? Asked Asia. Yeah, but I denied him. I denied him for years, but he never went away. Said Kuroka with a laugh. It took me 3 years with him before I became his queen. 3 years? Said Rias. That's a long time. What took you so long to join? Kuroka's smile was replaced with a frown, confusing the trio. I should have joined sooner. I didn't know what I was doing. I was young and acted rashly. What are you talking about? Asked Issei. Kuroka sighed. I'm probably no better than that Seraphol bitch, but I denied Naruto for a long time before accepting him out of jealousy. Flashback, 3 years ago. Tokyo, Japan. 16-year-old Kuroka jumped into the oversized bed with happy yip. Finally. She said out loud, hugging the pillows and rolling around in the sheets, it's been so long, Naya. I haven't felt the comfort of a bed in so long. Kuroka, at the moment, was wearing a thin, tight-fitting purple kimono with long black sleeves that covered her arms, and a black sash holding it together. The kimono was low-cut, revealing her developing chest that was covered in a light, fishnet shirt, giving her the appearances of a ninja. Her long, black hair was currently in a ponytail, and she finished the look with a simple pair of sandals. I'm glad you're company. Comfortable, said the orange orb that was floating above her. I wanted to surprise you. Training went well. Yeah, it did, but Antarctica, Naya, shouted Kuroka with fake anger, it was so cold. I hate cold places and you know it, Naya. He helped with Senjut Jutsu though. The orb muttered. Yeah, but it was lame. She said with a blank face, I feel a lot stronger though. So, I guess it wasn't a waste, Naya. She stripped naked and entered the bed with a satisfying sigh of relief. Good night, Naruto. Good morning, he. Naruto said before disappearing. Kuroka rolled her eyes at his lame joke, but she was used to it. Naruto always did and said weird things to her, but after staying with him for the last 3 years, she felt comfortable around Naruto. It was also a plus that he was training her in all things magic, so she was grateful for that as well. He's probably just doing that just so that I can become the queen he wants, she thought with a laugh, and it'll never happen, were her final thoughts before closing her eyes and falling asleep. Morning. The light rays of the sun entering the room through the window and hitting Kuroka's eyes is what woke her up. She hissed at the glowing ball's rays of heat and rolled over on her other side to avoid the bright light. She tried to go back to sleep, but her usual scheduled time of training with Naruto kept her up. So, Kuroka groaned and removed the covers from over her and sat up, expecting to see Naruto's orb. Sure enough, an orange orb was floating over her, waiting patiently for her. Good morning. Naruto stuttered out. Good morning, Naya. Kuroka said politely before yawning cutely. She slid out of bed and put on her sandals, not even caring that she was nude, and walked inside into the kitchen of the lavish hotel she was staying in. The smell of breakfast filled her nostrils, and she moaned at the deliciousness in the air. Another one of Naruto's orange orbs now had arms that he used to cook up breakfast for his apprentice, but the sight of a small ball with arms that didn't fit its body made Kuroka laugh somewhat. Sit, muttered the orb that followed Kuroka into the kitchen, growing its own arms and pulling out a chair for her. Oh, how nice, Naya. Kuroka complimented while sitting down at the kitchen table. You sure know how to treat a lady, Naruto. Too, please, stuttered out Naruto. He pushed Kuroka's chair closer to the table and joined the other orb that was finishing up Kuroka's breakfast. After a few minutes, Kuroka was presented with a plate full of ham and eggs, toast coated in the right amount of butter, and a green salad on the side. Enjoy. Thanks, Naya, said Kuroka as she dove into the food with little table manners. Using her hands to claw at the ham, utterly inhaling the eggs, munching on the toast so eagerly that crumbs flew everywhere, the only thing that Kuroka ate properly was the salad. Naruto watched as the cat girl finished her food and gave off a satisfying burp for effort. Oof. That's tasty, Naya. Naruto laughed a little, glad that his friend enjoyed his cooking. What do you want to do today? More training? No, screeched out Kuroka, I don't want to train for the rest of my life. I want to go outside and see the city, Naya. We're tourists for the day. Tourist? Said a confused Naruto. But we see a. Can't be, out in the open, a lot, hunters. I know, but I want to feel normal for once. Said Kuroka with a pout, all I've been doing for the past 3 years are running from hunters and training. I want to feel like a girl for once. And how do you do that? Asked Naruto. Kuroka's eyes lit up with stars in her eyes. She jumped on top of the table with a clap of her hands as she yelled out the word those men throughout all history hated as it entered their ears like the venom of the most poisonous snake, destroying necessary body tissue and shutting the body down. Shopping. A few hours later. Kuroko was laughing happily as she carried bags from many stories that she had visited. The shopping mall they were at was huge, holding a massive variety of stores for the young Nekasha to hold hostage for a certain amount of time before preying on the next store with the deadly credit card Naruto gave her. Naruto was right beside her, but his orb was under the guise of an illusion, making him invisible to human eyes. Kuroko's tail and ears were hidden, but that didn't stop various people, particularly men, to stop and look at the beautiful and voluptuous teen as she paraded from store to store. Naya. I'm having so much fun. Kuroko laughed excitedly with the largest smile, so many places to go. If Kuroka, having fun, I am, too. Muttered Naruto, following behind his jolly friend. That's the spirit, Naruto. Said Kuroka. People raised an eyebrow at the girl, believed that she was crazy, that she was talking to herself, but they just summed up that all beautiful girls were crazy and ignored her. I wonder where we should go next. How much money do I even have? She turned to Naruto. Where did you even get this card from? I asked. Asakura's, for money. He answered. Oh, you mean those other people that you have in your peerage? You talked about them before, Anna, Yo. And Ho, right? She asked. He. No, it's, how? Laughed out Naruto. Oh, well, why give a boy something like that? It's so easy to make jokes about him. Kuroka shrugged. Oh well, not my problem, but I do like their considerate donation to the Kuroka Foundation of shopping organization, Nayaye. She laughed. So will you become my queen now? Asked Naruto. Nope. I'm never gonna join a peerage ever again. I don't see why you keep asking me that. I'm a free woman. Said Kuroka with a smile. Just making, sure, he. Laughed out the Bael as he continued to follow Kuroka. The two continued their stretch in the mall, hitting store after store, the bags in her hands growing in number. She had so many bags, she had to teleport back to the hotel to drop some off so she could buy more stuff. Naruto followed behind her loyally, helping her decide on what to buy, and laughed along with her as the day continued. Soon enough, Kuroka finished her shopping spree and decided to end the day with dinner at the food court. She sat at their table after buying a simple hamburger with fries. However, the cashier was very confused when Kuroka asked for milk for her drink of choice. Naruto watched as Kuroka ate her food, unconsciously moving closer to her as she ate her hamburger. When Kuroka noticed that he was floating closer to her, she tilted her head at him cutely and asked, "What are you doing, Naya? Are there any pickles on the burger?" he asked with interest. Kuroka laughed a little at her friend. "No, there isn't. I forgot to ask them to put them on here, Naya. But it isn't that important anyway. I don't see why you have fetish over stupid pickles, Naya. Naruto laughed awkwardly. Yeah, it's, nothing important, he. Kuroka raised an eyebrow at his behavior, but didn't speak upon it, deciding to enjoy her dinner for the day. The two sat in silence for a while, enjoying the noise surrounding them, before they were interrupted. Excuse me?" said a girl that walked up to them. She was a very pretty girl, wearing a tight-fitting pair of blue jeans, a yellow crop top shirt that struggled to hold in her breast, and a pair of black flats to finish it off. She had long, pink hair that was split in two braids in the back, with bangs of pink hair circling her face. Her pink eye demanded attention as they gleamed from the light of the room, and the small but confident smile that had a slight edge of arrogance to it. "I'm sensing a large amount of magic from you, and you have a floating orb beside you. What are you?" Kuroka summoned her magic, just in case this girl did anything funny. "I'm half Nekasha, half devil if you wish to know. Now scram. I'm having my dinner," she said with a small hiss. "I'm not here to do anything to you," said the pink-haired girl. "I was just curious. I've never felt your magic here in Tokyo before, so I just wanted to make sure everything was alright. My name is Dorothy, by the way. Kuroka studied the outstretched hand that the girl stretched towards her. After deciding that there wasn't any ill intent behind her actions, Kuroka shook her hand gently. Kuroka. It's nice to meet you, Kuroka, said Dorothy. She then turned to Naruto. And what might be your name be? Pickle. Rick, answered Naruto, giving her his alias. Kuroka rolled her eyes at Naruto's codename. Don't mind him, Naya. He's a friend that talks funny. He won't do anything naughty, Naya, said Kuroka. I wasn't suspecting anything, Dorothy said with a smile. So how long have you been? Dorothy. I've been looking for you, said another girl as she ran towards the three. This girl had short, dark blue hair with a pink bow on top, complementing her innocent, childlike face she had. She was wearing a pink jacket over another jacket that was red, with red shorts and pink boots. A veil of happiness seemed to glow off of her as she stood next to Dorothy with an innocent smile on her face. Oh, hello, she said when she noticed Kuroka. I didn't know that Dorothy had met anyone over here. My name is Snow. Nice to meet you, she said with a cute bow. Hi. Kuroka answered awkwardly, not used to talking to anyone other than Naruto. I'm Kuroka. This is my friend Naruto, she said while pointing the floating orb. It's nice to meet you too, Snow said with a bright smile. I was just checking on Dorothy to see if she was okay with going to the movies later on. Movies? Asked Kuroka with interest. Yeah, we were planning on going after finishing up here, said Dorothy as she placed a hand on her hip. Do you want to go with us? I haven't talked to anyone else other than Snow and our circle of friends. It would be nice to have someone else hang out with us. Really, Naya? Asked a surprised Kuroka. She was invited to hang out with other girls her age. Yeah, you should come, said Snow with excitement. It'll be fun. Dorothy and I wanted to get away from the guys for a day, so it'll be cool to have another girl with us. Do you want to come with? Kuroka looked over to Naruto, who was surprisingly quiet during the conversation. Even though his orb didn't have eyes, she could almost feel like he was staring back at her, curious as to what her answer would be. She did want to go, but she didn't want to hurt Naruto's feelings, even if she wasn't a part of his peerage. Then Kuroka got to think, Naya, I deserve this. We've been in Antarctica for who knows how long. I'm gonna go on a training strike, Naya. I'm going. I want to go, Naya, Kuroka said out loud. Dorothy and Snow were happy that Kuroka would go with them, hoping to gain a new friend, but Kuroka's focus was on Naruto, and how he would react. Hey, are you sure, Kuroka? He asked politely. We do, them, company. Could be bad, PE people. He managed to get out. They're not bad, Naya. They're just regular people, or whatever they are. I'll find out soon. Just wait for me at the hotel. You can go to sleep for all I care. I'll be back soon. Don't follow me, Naya, she said confidently. Naruto watched as Kuroka threw out her food before following Dorothy and Snow out of the mall. He sat there for a while, before disappearing back to the hotel. A week later, a knock on the hotel door caught Naruto and Kuroka's attention. They were both watching TV at the moment, lazing the day away. Kuroka looked at the door in excitement and jumped towards it. Naruto was highly confused on what was going on, but decided to float towards Kuroka to make sure everything was going okay. Kuroka opened the door to reveal Dorothy and Snow, along with two other boys as well. Hey guys, Naya. Yo, Kuroka, said one of the boys, a blonde, with a cheeky grin. What's going on? What is going on? Asked Naruto without his usual stutter, surprising Kuroka. He only did that when they were fighting, or if he was serious, and Naruto was never serious, so it put Kuroka on edge a little. "Naruto, these are my friends that I've told you about," said Kuroka with a frown. "I invited them over." "Why?" he asked plainly with no room for his usual jokes. "Because they are my friend and I wanted you to meet them," Kuroka said while crossing her arms with a pout. "I don't know why you're acting so stuck up about it right now." The spiky blonde-haired boy spoke up. "Hey, Mr. Naruto, we're not here to do anything bad or nothing. We just got out of school and Kuroka invited us over. That's it." Naruto examined them thoroughly, trying to find any lies. They were all in a school uniform, the boys with blue dress pants with golden lines down the sides, a blue jacket with the same golden lines going down the sleeves, and a basic white shirt under it. The girls were in blue skirts with the same top as the boys. He didn't sense any negativity at all, but he was still on guard. "How do pickles taste?" he asked curiously, but still held the tone of a concerned parent. They're okay, I guess," said the blonde-haired boy with a shrug, not understanding the sudden change in conversation. "No. He was supposed to say that they taste amazing. They're the enemy. We moo." Kuroka slapped Naruto's orb out of the way. "You guys can come in, Naya," she said with a smile as she allowed them in. Kuroka ignored Naruto's grumbling as she sat everyone down in the living room. Naruto floated back into the living room with Kuroka and inspected them all, making sure they weren't up to no good. "He really doesn't trust us, huh?" said Snow when she had to back away from Naruto when he got very close to her face. "He doesn't like I don't like strangers." He jumped in. Kuroka growled at him for interrupting her. Naruto sighed before backing away from Snow. But I nicer, I'm N.A. "Naruto, I heard you've already met Snow and Dorothy, but I'm Jinta Toramizu," said the blonde with a smile and pointed to the other boy, who had black hair and small scratch lines under his eyes, "and this is Jack." "Howdy there," Jack said with a wave. "Okay, Naruto, we're going to be here watching TV, so you can go now, Naya," said Kuroka. Go where?" asked Naruto. "I don't know, Naya. Go to sleep or something. You just gotta leave us alone," snapped Kuroka. Naruto's orb back away from the angry cat girl. Okay, but remember, we leave soon, must stay on, the move," he said as he disappeared. "You haven't told him yet?" asked Dorothy. "No, but I'll tell him soon, Naya," said Kuroka as she sat down next to Snow. "You seemed a bit harsh with that lil flying thingy," said Jack. "Are you sure you should be so mean with him?" Kuroka waved Jack off. "He'll be okay." 2 days later, Naruto floated in the bathroom when he heard Kuroka call out for him. She was staring at the mirror with a frown, which instantly put Naruto on edge. He never liked seeing Kuroka sad and would do anything to help her. Anything wrong?" Kuroka ignored him and continued to stare at her reflection in the mirror, confusing him even more. This wasn't Kuroka-like behavior. She was usually loud and demanding, usually asking for either food or extra time to sleep. However, she spoke after a few seconds of silence. "I want to stay." What do you mean?" asked Naruto. I mean that I want to stay here, in Tokyo. I want to go to school with my friends." Silence filled the bathroom once again. Kuroka gritted her teeth, knowing that he wouldn't like the decision that she came to, but she wanted to do this for herself. She had spent years running around the world with Naruto. She was tired. She wanted to have a normal life for once. "Kuroka," she flinched at the tone he used, like a parent about to scold their child, "you can't stay here. You can't stay in one place for long. The devil hunters will find you and kill you. I don't want you to give them the opportunity of finding you again. We've stayed here longer than I anticipated. We need to leave in." No. She shouted, slamming her hands down on top of the sink. I don't want to run anymore. I want to live a normal life now, damn it. I want to stay with my friends. I told them everything about me, and they accept me. I don't want to be a stray cat anymore. Naruto floated dangerously close to Kuroka. So you told them that you're a SS class stray devil? You told them everything and they just accepted that? Yes, they did because they're good people. Shouted Kuroka, they're not going to do anything bad to me, so stop questioning me and acting like you own me. I can do what I want whenever I feel like it. Jinta and the others told me that they'll protect me if the hunters come after me. I'll be safe. Naruto was quiet for a while, making Kuroka uncomfortable again. She knew that Naruto was smart, smarter than he let on. She knew that he was adding everything together, but she hoped that he wouldn't understand everything she had planned. It took a while, but Naruto finally spoke. You think that I don't know what's going on? I've sensed the magic coming from that Jinta boy. He's a full-blooded, high-class devil. Those kids around him are his peerage members. You want to join them, right? You want to leave me and join them. Wano. I told you that I don't want to join any peerages ever, Naya. That's why I haven't joined you in all this time. I'm my own person, and I don't need to be dictated by anyone else. I told Jinta that I wouldn't join his peerage for anything in the world. I just want to go to school and be a regular 16-year-old girl. Is that too much to ask for, Naya? It is because you lying. Said Naruto harshly, I'm almost certain that you're lying, Kuroka. I know you. I've been with you for 3 years, and I know how you lie to people to get what you want. You want to be a part of his peerage just so that you can feel normal again, right? The problem is that you are not normal. You are one of the last remain Nekasha, and everyone will be gunning towards you. I've been with you for so long, but I never pressured you into joining me because I actually like you as a person, but you want to throw all of that away for this. I just told you I'm not lying. Shouted Kuroka, I want to stay here with my friends and that's final. I don't care what you say about it, but that's what I'm doing. Kuroka took in deep breaths as she glared at the silent orb. She had never gotten into an argument with Naruto before, but she was done with following him around. If those hunters were to find her again, she would kill them with her power. She was strong enough to live and protect herself, but it felt like Naruto didn't believe her at all. Where would you live then? You can't stay here forever. Growled out Naruto. Naruto. Jinta and his family have money. He told me that he would rent me out an apartment, buy me a house, whatever I wanted. He generally cares for me and so does everyone else. And you don't think that I care about you? Asked Naruto sadly. Kuroka's heart broke in half when she heard Naruto's defeated tone, but she had to do this if she wanted to feel free for the first time in years. I feel like you only want me to be in your peerage. You've trained me and stayed around me in hopes that I would join you someday. I'm telling you today that it'll never happen. She glared at the orb with all the anger she could muster up. I'm done following you, Naya. This is my life and I can choose what's best for me, and I know that this will help me in the long run. I can't stay with a guy who uses an orb to talk to me all the time. You only want me so I can be your queen, but they like me for Kuroka. Just Kuroka. You can go find yourself someone else who cares about you because I don't. Suddenly, Naruto disappeared, leaving Kuroka to herself. She stared at where Naruto once was, just waiting for him to appear again, but he didn't. She stayed like that for 10 minutes, but he didn't come back. Kuroka slowly dropped down to her knees and hugged them close to her body. Tears were pouring out of her eyes as she cried silently, thinking that she just destroyed the relationship she had with her guardian. He was always there for her, making sure that all her needs were met. He wasn't bad at all, but Kuroka felt like she needed this for herself. She was always locked down to someone. She wanted to make her own decisions for herself. I'm so, sorry, Naruto. Kuroka said in between her cries. 2 days later. Okay, that's it, said Jinta with a huff as he dropped the box he was holding. Jinta, along with his peerage members, were moving Kuroka into an apartment that he got for her. After the fight with Naruto, Kuroka was alone for a few days. Naruto didn't come back to check on her at all, which saddened her greatly. She had never made Naruto mad at her, and the silent treatment he was giving her was like poison to her. She was so used to having him around her at every moment for the past 3 years. Kuroka heard Jinta but was too busy looking around to see if Naruto was near. She jumped when she felt a hand on her shoulder, but calmed down when she noticed that it was Snow's hand. Said girl was looking at the Nekishu with worry and concern. You're worried about him, aren't you? Why yeah, I haven't seen him since our fight and it's not like him. He muttered sadly, her cat ears mimicking her mood by slouching down. I'm not used to this at all. He'd usually say something stupid by now and make me laugh, but he isn't here. It'll be all right, Kuroka, said Jack. I had the same feeling when I left my ma, but she understood over time. He'll do the same for you too. I don't know, Naya, she said sadly. I've never felt like this before. I feel so guilty. Do you want to stay with him? We understand if you do, Kuroka, said Dorothy. You don't have to do this. No, I want to stay, Naya. I want to do this for myself, she said confidently. It's just that this is harder than I thought it would be. Well, do you want us to leave you here for a while so you can think about it? Asked Jinta. We can meet up sometime later on, he suggested. Sure. Yeah, that sounds nice, she said with a smile, but they knew she was hiding her sadness behind it. I'll see you guys later. They all waved at her before disappearing in a magic seal. Kuroka sighed and entered her home and jumped onto her couch. She closed her eyes and tried to go to sleep, but the fight between her and Naruto was haunting her with every passing second. I was so mean to him. He only wanted to help. She rolled over with a huff, trying to shake the thoughts of Naruto out of her head, but it was inevitable. She was thinking back to all the times she had with him over the past 3 years. He was the only person that she actually loved other than her sister. She trusted him fully throughout the years, and he did the same. He never did anything to make her feel uncomfortable, always putting her needs first. It was an internal battle that was destroying her from the inside out. So you really want me to go? Kuroka's face was in one of the couch pillows, but she didn't look up. She felt the magic of Naruto floating over her. She knew he was there, but she didn't want to look at him. She was scared of him. Scared of what he was going to say, and if he was going to judge her. Why, yes, she muttered quietly, holding back the tears that started to form in her eyes. I want to make my own decisions. I can handle myself, Naya. You don't have to worry about me anymore. Okay, he said plainly. Kuroka clenched her eyes shut. She didn't want to cry in front of him, but it was getting harder and harder to do so every second. I'm glad that I got to know you, Kuroka, were Naruto's last words to her before disappearing altogether. Flashback end. So, he left in the end? Asked Issei. So how did you become a part of his peerage then if you two split up? It was not too longer after that. After we went our separate ways that the hunters found me, said Kuroka. They found me right when I was leaving school with Jinta and his peerage. The hunters asked Jinta if he was helping me hide, because if he was going to be punished for it. He said that he wasn't. So, they betrayed you, said Rias, who was entranced with Kuroka's story. They were young, muttered Kuroka. They didn't know the politics behind the devil world. Jinta was scared that he and his peerage were going to be punished, so he left me out of fear. It's funny because I had lied to Naruto during our argument, saying that Jinta hadn't offered me a spot on his peerage because he did. He offered me to be his bishop, and I was highly considering it. And you did it because they made you feel normal, right? Asked Rias. I can relate to that, so I understand your predicament, and I would have done the same thing. It must have been hard to leave him. It was, and I hated myself when my friends left me to the wolves. It felt like my heart froze over when they left me to fend for myself. Well, I could fend for myself, but still. It was a hard time for me, Naya," said Kuroka. "So, what happened next?" asked Issei. "I killed the hunters, easily. That training with Naruto really paid off in the end, but I was lost after that. I didn't know what to do or where to go. I was lost for a month, back to being Kuroka the stray cat. It took me some time, but I found a trail of Naruto's magic and instantly chased after it. It took me another month to actually find him, but that's when everything changed for me, Naya." Flashback continued. New Orleans Mardi Gras. Kuroka was huffing as she ran through the city, using the shadows to avoid human eye. She knew Naruto was near. She could feel the warmth of his magic somewhere in the city, and she felt like she was getting closer and closer to him. "Stay where you're at, Naruto. I'm coming," Kuroka said with a big smile as she jumped from building to building. The city that she was in was currently having some type of parade for a holiday. Everyone's sights were focused on the floats slowly making their way down the streets, with everyone enjoying themselves with their family and friends. Kuroka landed on the ground after jumping down from a building before rushing through the crowd, pushing past a few people. He was near. She could feel it. "Almost there, Naya," she screamed out happily. Her grin continued to grow as she felt the warmth of Naruto's magic signal. When she found him, she would plead for him to forgive her and make her his queen. She knew that she made a huge mistake with leaving him for someone else, but she wouldn't make a mistake like that for the rest of her life. She would fully commit to him and free him from that seal he was trapped in. Kuroka approached a restaurant that was filled with people. It didn't stop her from entering it and pushed her way through everyone and sit, even ignoring the waitress that yelled for her to stop. She was looking around, trying to focus on where he was in the building, but the loud noise and everyone surrounding her was messing with her sensory skills. She hissed at a man that got too close to her and shoved him on the ground, garnering a lot of attention. She wasn't worried about them, she needed to find Naruto. Kuroka entered the bathroom where there were less people. She went into one of the stalls and closed the door behind her before focusing on Naruto's signal. "Come on, Naruto. Help me out here. You're in here for a reason. Just give me a signal." It took a while, but she felt a wave of energy on the roof. Kuroka opened her eyes and teleported to the roof with a magic circle. Nobody else was on the roof. There was one table in the middle of the roof with candles and food for one person. On one side of the table was Naruto, in his orb form, floating calmly. Kuroka's eyes were filled with tears instantly, and she ran up to him, jumping up and grabbing him, and fell on the back down while holding the surprised Naruto to her chest. "Naruto! Naruto!" She cried out happily, "I finally found you. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean what I said to you. I'll never leave you again." Kuroka?" said Naruto. The Nekisha sighed happily when she finally heard him say her name. It felt like so long that she had heard his voice, and she needed it. "Yes, Naruto. It's me. I'm here to stay this time," she whispered silently with tears of happiness. The hole in her heart had seemingly healed the moment she held Naruto to her breast. "I'm so glad that I—" "What's going on here?" said an unknown voice. Anger filled Kuroka's being as she looked up at the person. Who dared cut her off of her Naruto time? She just got back with him, and now someone was interrupting them. Who was this person? "Who the fuck are you?" shouted an angry Kuroka. The person she was yelling at. She was simply beautiful. The sense of grace and elegance was flooding from the woman, and she could have sworn that the night sky made her shining golden hair stand out even more. For the first time in Kuroka's life, she felt inferior. "Hi. said the gorgeous woman with a smile that would have melted the heart of the coldest criminals. My name is Gabriel. Flashback end. And that's when that dusty, old, disgusting, ugly, man-stealing eyesore of a woman Gabriel popped up. Shouted Kuroka with anger, scaring the three younger devils. I swear I hate that woman with every fiber in my being. 4 weeks, I had to follow those two around being all friendly with each other. I almost went back to Jinta and his peerage because of the disgusting sight of those two laughing and talking with each other. It's like he replaced me. Wait, you mean Gabriel, one of the seraphs? Shouted Rias in shock. Yup. Kuroka grumbled with a few curses. That angel bitch has been mooching on my Naruto for the past 3 years. She'll pop in every now and then to go sightseeing with Naruto, but I swear I've seen her blush whenever he laughs. I don't want her to hear another one of his beautifully insane laughs. Shouted Kuroka. What a relationship you two have. Sweat dropped Asia. But yeah, one day I got sick of them talking to each other like I wasn't there, so I just shouted that I wanted to be Naruto's queen. He quickly cut off his conversation with Gabriel the bitch, and was happily dancing around me. It was so sweet, Naya said Kuroka with a blush. I actually enjoyed your story. A bit of comedy, romance, a breakup, and an ongoing love triangle. It's a very nice story indeed. Said Rias with hearts in her eyes. It is. But things have changed between me and Naruto since then. Kuroka said sadly, he doesn't use my name a lot anymore, usually referring to me as my protege. I don't like that name. I want him to use my actual name. I understand that as well. I've had my own self-identification issues as well. You'll get through to him one day. Said Rias, subconsciously taking a peek at Issei. I guess it is, Naya. But I hope you all understand Naruto a bit more. He's a good person. He just depends on us so much, so he can forget about his past. I promise you, he wouldn't do anything bad to anyone that didn't deserve it, Naya. Same time, Sona's apartment. And boom. The battleground is destroyed and we won, because of my awesomeness if I do say so myself, he. Laughed Naruto. That's an amazing war story, Naruto-sama. Said Sona, deeply interested in the Bael stories of the past. Why haven't I heard of these stories before? You're a war hero. I guess. Said Naruto with a cheeky grin as he rubbed the back of his head in embarrassment. But what's up with the Sama thing again? I told you that I don't care much for honorifics. I know, but you deserve it, Naruto-sama. Said Sona, these tales you have of the war and all the knowledge you have on magic. It's incredible, and I would love to learn more. You've been here for a couple of hours, but I haven't been bored any second while you've been here. You are an amazing person, a war hero, and you deserve all the respect in the world if you ask me. Praised Sona. Oh. You're making me blush. Said Naruto with a smile, but I'm glad that you like me. It really means a lot. Absolutely. You have my respect after hearing your stories, and I'm sorry for feeling a little frightened by you when came to my door. I didn't know that I was opening the door to a legendary man of war. Sona praised again. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Said Naruto with his smile growing. I was wondering. Would you, maybe help me in my training? Asked Sona. You trounced Hao in your fight, even if it was an illusion, and it was very impressive. I want to learn how to fight like you, or at least, incorporate some of your techniques into my battle style. No problem. Said Naruto, which made Sona lighten up in happiness. I was going to ask you if you wanted to be trained by me anyway. I was going to ask Rias Gremory the same, since I've heard that she's good at using her power of destruction. I wanted to see so for myself and give her a few pointers as well. As sure. Said Sona, stuttering over her words uncharismatically because of the excitement rushing through her body. We'd love that, and I appreciate the opportunity. Again, no problem. I'm here to help. Said Naruto. Well then, I guess my time has run out. I need to meet someone else before the night ends, so I'll be taking my leave now. Of course, she said with a bow. I thank you for stopping by. You are welcomed here at my home anytime. Thank you for that, said Naruto as he summoned a magic seal below him. I'll see you soon. Wait. One more question. He hummed. I know you weren't lying about your stories, but if you're such an amazing person, where have you been all of these years and why am I just learning of you now? She asked with interest. Naruto smirked at the young Citri, because the higher-ups sealed me in a box because they didn't like me, and disappeared within the seal, leaving Sona puzzled of his answer to her question. Underworld. Bael Toritoi countryside. Mile Bael was preparing for bed. Her son was gone with his peerage for one of their monthly training trips, so she wasn't expecting any visitors that day. It surprised her when she heard the doorbell ring throughout the house, especially at this time of day. That can't be Saraward, muttered Misla as she made her way to the door. I don't feel his magic at all. I can't feel anyone's magic. She opened the door slowly, just in case anyone tried to surprise attack her. Her confusion increased further when she saw a mysterious male in a wheelchair looking up to her with an eerie smile. Ah, hello, said Misla. Hello there, Lady Bael. It's been a while since I've last seen you. The voice of the man did sound familiar, but she couldn't quite put a name to it. I'm sure it has, seeing as I don't get a lot of visitors other than my son and his peerage. Can you tell me your name? She asked nicely. Oh, it makes sense that you don't remember me. I just recently freed myself from the seal that you agreed to put me in over 500 years ago, right? A name clicked in Misla's mind. Her eyes widened in fear as she stepped away from the door. The man in the wheelchair opened the door enough for him to get through without a hassle, and closed it behind him. Misla was shaking in fear as the man smiled up at her with an evil grin. I'm Naruto Bael, bitch. You and I need to talk. Now. To her surprise, Naruto stood out of his wheelchair and walked over to her. Fear overrid her mind's commands to get the hell out. Naruto grabbed Misla by her throat and held her in the air with surprising strength. Oh ho ho, I've been wanting to do this for years. It seems like little Miss Bael isn't so arrogant and grand now, is she? Ha. Please. Misla croaked out, please, put me down, I doubt I can explain. Naruto hummed to himself before deciding on letting her go. Misla dropped to the ground in a cough fit, gasping for the air that she was cut off of for a short time. What happened, Misla? I remember that you used to be so arrogant and demanding. I remember stories my mother used to tell me of how you would put down everyone who would serve you. You do remember my mother, right? She was one of your maids for a long time, said Naruto. I do. I'm sorry for what happened to her, said Misla, looking up to Naruto with sorrow. I'm sorry what happened to you as well. I'm a changed woman. I've seen the error in my ways and... You're damn right, shouted Naruto, kicking Misla across the room. Misla bounced off the wall and landed on the ground harshly. You don't know anything I've been through because of you. Please. I know that I did wrong by you. She groaned out. She shakily stood back on her feet to meet Naruto face to face, but please understand that I'm different now. I know what I did is wrong, and I've regretted it ever since they sealed you all those years ago. You're going to regret it, growled out Naruto, grabbing Misla by her throat again. I want to kill you. I want to utterly torture you before I kill you with a massive blast of my power, but I can't do that right now. I need you alive for the moment. You being dead will only cause complications in my plan. I understand. She muttered out, I'll atone to my sins. I what? Shouted Naruto, what is it that you can possibly offer me right now? I offer my services, she said with a groan. Naruto narrowed his eyes in curiosity at her words. Anything you need of me, I'll do it. I just ask that you don't hurt my son or any of his friends. Naruto grinned at Misla. Now that's an offer. He ha 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 ha. I believe that making you my servant in my peerage would also be agreeable, Yes. She muttered, you can do anything with me, just don't hurt my son. He. Ha 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 ha. This is hilarious. They look on their faces when I reveal that you are a part of my peerage. The wife of the great king. He ha 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 ha. This is rich. Laughed out Naruto with insanity, increasing the fear in Misla's heart. Alright, little Bael. I'm not going to incorporate you into my peerage, at least, not yet. It depends on if I really feel like embarrassing the higher-ups by making you mines. I know something that you will do though. Naruto brought Misla's face closer to his own. You're going to tell me everything about those in charge. Tell me everything you know about the Great King, Satan's, the Bael Council, everything. If you decide to even leave out one thing. Naruto used his free hand to summon his power of destruction, and held it dangerously close to her face. There will be hell to pay, he. Ha 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 ha. That's it for this reading. Hit like and subscribe for a free ticket pass going to the different worlds of anime fanfictions. Looking forward to having you on board again.